Hey there, welcome back to 358 Outdoors. I'm Matt, and it's another gorgeous day at the range. Today we're concluding our work on the 308 Winchester, the Tikka T3 Lite Stainless that we've been working on. And just to take you back real quick, it's a brand new rifle. We didn't do any barrel break-in procedure at all. And we did a brief load development. We put up 5 groups of 3. We're shooting the 150 grain Hornady SST on top of 42.5 grains of IMR 8208. We're using Starline brass and a Winchester large rifle primer. So we brought the 5 loads to the range, and load number 4 printed the best group at just under an inch. My goal was to get something that would shoot between an inch and a quarter. And then something that's going to have the velocity fall somewhere between 2,400 and 2,650 feet a second. Certainly well within what we need for whitetail deer, 0 to 200 yards. We don't need anything more than that. So the good thing is load number 4 was an accurate group, and now we're going to run 10 more of those through the chronograph here to see what sort of velocity we're getting. And that information is just for my notes, my data. Nothing that's really critical for what this rifle and this load is going to be doing. So anyways, again, appreciate you being here. We're going to get started. Okay, so we're back from the range, and before we get into the data, I want to talk briefly about chronographs. Chronographs are a fantastic tool. I highly recommend getting one, whether you're a reloader or somebody that shoots factory ammunition. Because for those of you that shoot factory ammunition, you go and you buy your box of ammo. Some of them have charts on the back that list a velocity, and 0 to 200, it's going to be this low at 400. That's all fine and good. But the truth of it all is that information was taken from a test barrel in a ballistic laboratory somewhere else, not out of your rifle. So having a chronograph really allows you to see what that ammunition is actually doing out of your rifle, not what a chart says on the back of a box. So that's important. And then for the reloader, equally, take the information in your reloading manuals with a grain of salt. As you'll see here, as we get into the numbers and the data here, the numbers in the book aren't always accurate or going to be accurate out of your rifle. So anyways, let's get into the data and we'll talk about it. So in this example, Hornady actually used a Winchester Model 70 for their testing. The barrel length is 22 inches. They used a Hornady case and a Federal 210 large rifle primer. My load differs slightly. We used a Starline case and a Winchester large rifle primer. So a little bit different. The barrel lengths between the test rifle and the Tikka are the same. So I would anticipate the velocity to be roughly the same. So when you're looking at reloading for your whatever rifle you're shooting, whatever caliber you're shooting, look at that barrel length. If your barrel is shorter than the test barrel, typically you're going to expect something a little slower than what the book says. If your barrel length is longer than the test barrel, I would expect, or you should expect, something a little faster. Not always true, but generally speaking. And why that is, if you have a longer barrel, you're giving that powder more time to burn, um, and that will give you higher velocity. Shorter barrel, powder doesn't have quite the amount of time to burn, therefore you're blowing powder out the end of the barrel and you're not getting quite as high a velocity. So anyways, onto our particular load. Um, Again, we settled on 42 and a half grains of IMR 8208 XBR. And if you look at the book, 42.9 gives you 2,600 feet a second. So we're not quite to 42.9, we're at 42.5. So by looking at this, I would anticipate something, north of 2550. Again, we're well below the max load. I don't anticipate any pressure issues. And then, you'll see here in a minute, it's not quite what we expected. So this is a great illustration for those that are just getting into this. Um, like I said before, take the data in the book with a grain of salt. Treat it as just a guideline. Um, per the book, 42 and a half grains should have given us somewhere between 2,550 to 2,600 feet per second. And every shot on that page, except for number 10, was north of 2,700 feet a second, with number 10 falling in at 2685, roughly a full 100 feet per second faster than what I had expected. So for me, I'm calling this load max. How do I come up with that? Very simple. The book says 44.2 grains will give me 2,700 feet a second. This load is a full 1.7 grains below max, but yet it's giving me an average velocity of 24 feet a second faster than what the max charge says we should have. So there's no need for me to push it. It's an accurate load, so I'm going to call it max. But keep in mind, you may have a rifle that you may get up to max and see absolutely zero pressure signs at all. Your velocity is kind of in check with what the book is saying. You might even be able to go beyond max a little bit. I don't recommend it, but like I said, every rifle is different. So again, start low and work your way up. And this also illustrates the importance of a chronograph. Without it, you'd have no idea. You're literally shooting in the dark. So if you can get a chronograph, get it. It's a fabulous tool, and that bears out here in this example. Okay, so I'm showing you this target to bring home a point that I made a little while ago, and that is, it does not take a whole lot of effort to put together a good batch of ammunition. If you recall, we did not do anything overly complex. We didn't weigh and sort primers, brass, or lead. We did not measure case neck thickness. We didn't turn any necks. We did not run any loaded ammunition through the concentricity gauge to measure runout and then correct it. We didn't do any of that. We just spent a little bit of time and effort into case prep. And by that I mean we put the new brass through the sizing die to make sure the mouths were all uniform. We measured the cases and we trimmed them to length. We deburred the flash hole. We deburred the case mouth, and we chamfered the case mouth, and that's it. As you can see, it worked just fine. I think probably the most important thing in your loading process is going to be consistency. Whatever steps you decide to take, be consistent with them each and every time you load. And I think that is more important than trying to get overly complex. So real quick, at the beginning of this project, we're shooting for a group that, was anywhere between an inch and a quarter. And this group right here measured 1.019. And obviously that works. That falls within what I was looking for. I'm happy with that. The velocity is good. And quite frankly, it's going to make a sweet deer rifle for those hunting down at the ranch. And quite frankly, whoever uses it has no excuse. If they miss, it's on them. So anyways, I would consider this a success. Okay, that 308 project was fun. But now we're going to go up in bore diameter to my favorite, the 358, and specifically an offspring of the 308 Winchester, the 358 Winchester. I know you've probably never heard of it, but that's okay. Arguably, in my opinion, it's one of the best big game cartridges in North America, and I can't wait to share with you why I feel that way. But until then, get down to that reloading bench, put up some ammo, have fun. Most importantly, be safe. So, anyways, I appreciate you being here at 358 Outdoors. I look forward to seeing you next time, and God bless.